Dr. McCullough is a professor and graduate program director in the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders here at App State. She has been an integral part of our faculty since 2014 when she came to us. She holds a PhD in speech and hearing science from the University of Tennessee, along with master's and bachelor's in speech pathology and communication disorders from Baylor University. She is also a licensed speech language pathologist and maintains her OSHA certificate of clinical competence. She specializes in adult neurogenic communication disorders, dementia, and cognitive decline in rural populations. Dr. McCullough's expertise extends to interprofessional education and program accreditation. Her research is dedicated to understanding aging, mild cognitive impairment, and strategies for sustaining brain function. Through her teaching, she delivers courses such as adult language disorders, neuroanatomy and physiology, and motor speech disorders. Beyond the classroom, Kim is deeply involved in mentoring student research and supervising graduate students in clinical settings, particularly those conducting community screenings and developing programs for older adults. You may know her through her participation in our Aging Well assessments, as well as programs such as Strong Body, Strong Mind. And she is here today to talk to us about cognitive fitness. So let's give a warm welcome for Dr. Kim McCullough.
Thank you all. Before we get officially started, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me okay? It needs to go up a little bit. I'm waiting on my husband to come in because the monitors for the, can y'all see this? Look, here's the microphone right here on my boot. So I'm waiting for my husband to come in. I'll let him adjust it because I can't see down there. But that's what I was saying is so this is why my glasses are up here. But anyway, I was just alerting them that is one thing I'm going to have to put on my list of things to remember is wear something with pockets the next time I present. You know, you learn something new, right? Every time you do something.
On your belt?
Pardon? This is not a belt. This is just elastic.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, so, yeah, I need your help to see if you could turn that up just a little bit. This is Gary, who's my husband. Yes.
Well, that's reassuring.
It was turned off.
It was turned off. Oh, good. Now, is it on? And is that better?
Is this one?
Good. That's good, Linda, back there. And App TV guys, this one good? All right. Okay, so now we'll, thank you, Gary. Yes. So now we'll get started, I hope, without any other technical difficulties. But if somehow I knock this, you all just let me know. So today's topic is cognitive fitness. And go ahead and pat yourselves on the back for being here. Right? Because that is step one. Well, there are many steps, but that is step one. Also, you all received a handout, and as you walked in the door. And one thing I'd like for you to know is don't worry about the handout right now. It's a little activity we're going to do at the end, and so there's no reason to worry with it for the moment. So today, what we're going to talk about is what you should know. Okay. So here's the good news, is that if you have made it to the age of 65 or older, for now, your lifespan, okay, and many of you may have already surpassed this, is 84 for men on average, and 86 for women on average. And you may be wondering, why I'm mentioning that, and we'll get to it in just a minute. But when I say cognitive fitness, what do you all think?
Thinking better.
Thinking better? That's
Your brain is working.
or your brain is working. Anybody else? Problem solving.
You can remember why you went to the kitchen.
Oh, you can remember why you went to the kitchen. True. Yes. Okay, so cognitive fitness is how well you think, process information, remember what you went to the kitchen for, communicate, learn, and reason. So there are lots of different components of cognitive fitness, and all of those things go together. And so why is it important? Well, one, for all of my students and my children and all of us in this room, why is it important for us to be thinking about cognitive fitness?
So we have a better life.
That's right. You can think about cognitive fitness as your retirement savings account for your brain, okay? Which is super important. And one of the things that we know, and which is why I brought up aging at the beginning, is that aging is the biggest risk factor for dementia, okay? Also, aging is the best predictor, right, of a long life, right? So we all want to be aging, okay? And I say aging is the biggest risk factor for dementia because 1 in 3 older adults over the age of 65 are at risk for and do have dementia, which means that 2 in 3 don't. 1 out of every 5 women have Alzheimer's disease or some other type of dementia. 1 out of every 10 men have Alzheimer's disease or some sort of dementia. I know it. I was just looking at that the other day and I said, ooh, for women, that's a lot, right? So 1 out of every 5 women, 1 out of every 10 men. Pardon? Well, that is a different lecture, Paul, and we'll have to cover that in another class. But 7 million people right now are living with Alzheimer's disease, and it's costing our country $360 billion and some change a year, right, to address Alzheimer's disease. So wouldn't it be fabulous, and you all in this room are part of the solution here, is if we were thinking about cognitive fitness the same way we think about physical fitness, okay? And you can start to think that way. But for the rest of this lecture, what I want to do is talk about 5 myths that you all may have heard, and then 5 truths related to your brain and brain health and cognitive fiction, okay? Cognitive fitness, not cognitive fiction. Gracious. Okay. Okay, myth number 1 is that the brain is a complete mystery, okay? And that is wrong. We know a lot now, and even since I have been learning about this topic of cognitive fitness and cognitive wellness as we age, the information has just increased exponentially on using fMRI studies, using PET scans to see what changes you can make in the brain based on how much you exercise, based on the crossword puzzles, which is a bad example, but based on the cognitive activities that you've been a part of. So there is quite a bit of information, there's whole fields, but the brain is not a complete mystery. And there's also something called neuroplasticity. Have you all heard this term before, neuroplasticity? Yeah. Kathy's heard. Neuroplasticity basically means that the brain can change, right? For the better or for the worse, right? And what we want to do is continue moving forward so that our brains, are stronger. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And dementia, that's myth number 2, is an inevitable consequence to old age. No, it's not. Dementia is a disease process, okay? We said 1 in every 3 persons, right, Americans, has dementia, which means that the other 2 don't, right? And so I want you all, to keep that in mind. And for a long, long time, I heard Alzheimer's disease referred to as old-timers. Have you heard that, old-timers disease? But it's not inevitable, right? Just because you're aging and growing older doesn't mean that you necessarily have cognitive impairments, right? My 21-year-old daughter was going to the kitchen the other day, stood in front of the refrigerator and said, "What did I come in here for?" All right, so that, is not an unnormal consequence or situation. Another myth is that older people can't learn new things. How many of you, would you do me a favor and raise your hands? How many of you have gotten a new phone lately? How many of you gotten a new car lately? How many of you have gotten a new television lately? One of those smart TVs, right? Think about all the things. What's something new, anybody, that you've learned recently? New job? Okay, a new job. Something else. The computer, yes. Anybody else?
New banjo.
Oh gosh, a musical instrument? Yeah, that's awesome. Anybody learn how to apply for FEMA? Yeah, that's process.
I traveled to a different country recently.
Absolutely, so you have to learn new things associated with that. Anybody else?
New golf swing.
New golf swing, awesome. Okay, good.
I learned how to enlarge the print on my email.
Awesome, learn how to enlarge the print on your email, which is life-changing, right?
For my friends.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, anybody else learning new things? What'd you say?
A new baby kitten.
Oh, a new baby kitten.
A new child.
Yes, so my condolences or congratulations yeah. So it's mixed emotions, absolutely. That's a lot of work, having a new baby, a new kitten at the house. Kathy, were you going to say something?
I've played chess since high school, but I'm actually trying to learn how to be good at it.
Okay, fabulous. And one of the things that we know about the brain is, once you learn something, it's there. But if you haven't revisited it in a long time, those connections are very weak, right? Those neural connections. And so sometimes it takes just a little bit of practice to get better at something again. Okay, so that's myth number 3. Myth number 4 is a crossword puzzle a day can keep the doctor away, or Wordle a day can keep the doctor away. What do you all play? Connections, Wordle? Strands. Anybody else? Jigsaw puzzles. Now, doing a crossword puzzle every day, doing Wordle every day, connections, strands, that's fun and that's good for you. And especially if you can do the activities where you can play like words with friends, right? So you're making those social connections. But what we know is that once you have done something so many times that you don't have to think about it anymore, that it's not making your brain work, then you need to try something else, like learning to play the banjo, to work out your brain, okay, to strengthen those connections. So a crossword puzzle a day doesn't necessarily keep the doctor away. How many of you do crossword puzzles? Okay. Oops.
The Tiger Democrat, next to crossword puzzles, they have 2 pictures, and they're something, 6 things different.
Okay.
Drives me crazy.
So keep doing it. That's good. So it challenges you?
Oh, it's a challenge.
Okay, awesome. And then myth number 5 is that you're born with all the brain cells you'll ever have, and your brain is hardwired and brain damage is always permanent. And this is a myth, this made me think about in the 80s, the Just Say No to Drugs campaign, you know, a lot, I was a teenager in the 80s, and so a lot of
Your brain on drugs.
that's right. This is your brain on drugs. And so, you know, the big push is don't do those things. Naughty, naughty. I went to Baylor, so of course I was not naughty, right? But if you're doing those things, then you're, you know, damaging your brain forever. But now we know if you have had, for example, a stroke or a head injury, you can recover, okay? So your brain is always changing and can get better, and you can make improvements, okay? So that is myth number 5. So brain changes aren't always permanent, okay? Questions? Yes, Paul? Can you get more brain cells? You can get some more brain cells, and you can strengthen the connections between different areas. And I think that that's always with rehabilitation. What you're working towards is strengthening connections. So here's a perfect example. Say your road got washed out. Did anybody get a road washed out, or there's a dip in your road? Typically what happens is you can either build with new connections, or there's a way to go around, right? So that is what you can do with rehabilitation, is either build stronger connections or figure a different way to do a task that you might had difficulty with. What were you going to say? Yeah.
I'm wondering about sports, people who, football players.
Yes.
Who have damage to their heads when they're young. They have results later.
That's right. So that's right. People who play sports that involve their head, and I'm thinking of soccer, football, maybe wrestlers. Did you have? Lacrosse. Those people, if they've suffered concussions, right, or not even concussions, but a series of blows across time, actually are at a much higher risk later in life for developing neurological or brain diseases. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
That's why they're improving the helmets.
That's right. That's why they're improving the helmets, and also improving education, right? About, hey, get that person out. They need time. Because it used to be you just send them back in. But people are, recognizing that now. Okay, so those are the myths. What are the truths? Well, here are the 5 truths, and we're going to talk about each of these. Moving, engaging, relaxing, nourishment, and then connection. These 5 things are going to help you maintain your cognitive fitness. So the first one is movement. And what we know about movement is that movement does increase your brain power, okay? So exercise makes a difference. It changes your brain. Your brain produces something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. Have you all heard that? Yeah? Well, so exercise changes your brain for the better. Also, our brains are just typically under assault by inflammation, hypertension. Anybody here hypertension? Yeah. insulin sensitivity, glucose intolerance, or hypoglycemia, and exercise helps to relieve all of those things. So my 22-year-old students who helped me put this presentation together thought that you all would really like this. And they were so excited about putting Matthew McConaughey in the presentation. I was like, okay, that'll be good. But anyway, there's Matthew. All right. So there's Matthew McConaughey saying just break a sweat every day. But the point is that exercise actually does change your brain for the better. And then keeping your brain engaged. What we know is just like your body is a muscle, right? So you have to move to stay stronger. You have to work out your brain. So learning how to play the banjo, for example, is a great brain workout. Learning new information or revisiting it and thinking about it in a different way is good for your brain. And the one thing when we think about keeping your brain engaged is it's important to do things that are challenging and new. That's what strengthens your brain and the connections. I mean, obviously we can't always do all things challenging and all things new, but move outside of your comfort zone a little bit and try something new. I think most of you in here recognize that you had been trying new things, okay? Has anybody joined a new group? Anybody? Yes? To meet new people?
No, at Bryan Estates, you don't meet new people.
Okay.
They're already there.
Okay.
But it's to learn playing bridge.
So you're learning to play bridge.
I've never done.
Okay, so that's new. Has anybody else done anything that they would like to share that's a newer activity?
I did Tai Chi.
Tai Chi. Oh, yeah, shout out to Sia and Tai Chi, right? Because Tai Chi is one of the best types of exercises that you can do. And the reason is because it uses both your body and your brain. It requires a lot of mental power to do Tai Chi, so that's fabulous. Anybody else? Okay, so keeping your brain engaged. Relaxing. No problem. Oh, good, says the banjo player. Taking a break is actually very good for you. It increases your well, let me back that up and talk about it in a different way. So when you take a break and learn how to relax, right, you're decreasing stress, which makes you less anxious, which if you are stressed, that creates inflammation in your body. And so taking a break and doing relaxing types of activities can be very helpful for your brain. So let me ask you all, because everybody is different as to what relaxation, what that means to you. So what would be relaxing to you? Taking a nap, okay. Somebody else? Reading.
Turning off the TV.
Turning off the TV.
Meditation.
Meditation is relaxing.
Journaling.
Journaling is relaxing.
Take a walk.
Taking a walk, relaxing. What else? Gardening is relaxing.
Being at peace.
Being at peace is relaxing. What else is relaxing? Praying. What else did you say? Okay, yeah. Anyway, there are all sorts of different things. Knitting can be relaxing to some individuals. If you have a hobby, it doesn't have to be that it doesn't wear you out, but sometimes just thinking about something different in a different way can be relaxing. So anyway, taking a break is a good way to maintain your cognitive fitness. Not all the time. It's not a whole break, just sometimes, right? Okay. And number 4, eat healthy food. And I'm just going to kind of stop there with that because when you say eat healthy food, if you look on the internet, right, there are 1,000 different variations of what eat healthy food looks like. And so everyone is different. It depends on any kind of chronic sorts of disease processes or conditions that you might have. But generally speaking, less processed food, right? And more fruit and vegetables. Eating healthy food changes your brain. So, for example, Gary, my audiovisual guy, he eats nuts and berries every day. He's the most disciplined person I know. Nuts and berries every single day. And that changes your brain for the better. A handful of blueberries every single day is what we call neuroprotective. So it protects your brain. And then the last truth is the importance of social connections. And social connections are critically important. And I'm thinking back to, well, even with the hurricane, but also with COVID. When we couldn't stay as connected, that was, very hard for a lot of people, and particularly for individuals with neurological diseases like dementia. And what we know and what the literature supports is that it is important to have connections. You don't have to, for example, when we say keep in touch, it doesn't have to be with all the people all the time. You know what your comfort level is. But isolation is not good for the human brain. One of the things that older adults oftentimes struggle with, though, with social connections is hearing loss. Oh, that was quick. That was good. It was like you planned it. That's good. So with hearing loss, for example, you have to work sort of doubly hard in a social situation, right, to understand what someone's saying. So it's mentally fatiguing to do that. But sometimes if people recommend and make sure that you get hearing aids or that you get your hearing checked, hearing aids can make all the difference in the world for individuals as far as, I'm looking at you, Jack, maintaining social connections, right? So if you have a hearing loss, or if you think that you might have a hearing loss, you want to get that checked out. One of the, there's a new study that just came out. It came out in 2020 and they've updated it on the modifiable risk factors for dementia. And in 2020, there were 12 modifiable risk factors that accounted for 40% of the risk of developing a dementia. Now there are 14 different risk factors that if you can address, that you can modify, and the sooner the better, it can account for 45% of the risk of developing a neurological disease. And one of those risk factors, in fact, the number one is hearing loss, is not addressing hearing loss. And so addressing hearing loss, and that, when we're talking about these modifiable risk factors, thinking about exercise, for example, when you exercise, that's good for your blood pressure, it's good for your weight, it's good for your diabetes, and those are all risk factors that you can modify. If you can control and maintain those things, then you are, checking the boxes on those areas that there's something that you can do something about, okay? So, developing any kind of disease process is not inevitable. We've got a lot of control in what we can do. So, where do you start? Okay. Today, we're starting today. So you have those 5 truths, okay? And so what we want to think about then is, where should you start? What should you do? Most of you in here, if you're here, you're probably, is that what I'm doing? I'm preaching to the choir, is that what that's called? You're probably already doing a lot of the things that you need to be doing to stay fit, cognitively fit. But what you want to do is think about creating healthy habits and embedding healthy habits. And it may be that you're thinking about, well, I can't do all the things, but maybe I need to start today to do one something. And so when we're thinking about creating healthy habits, let me back up for just a second. What's a habit?
Something you do without thinking.
It's something you do without thinking. And that's what habits are fabulous for, is because you don't have to think about it. How many of you drove here today? Okay, did you think about, how do I get in this car? How do I turn this car on? How do I put my seatbelt on? Did any of those things cross your mind? You just hopped on in the car, right? Drove here, put your seatbelt on, all those things. And that is a habit. And what we know is that things that are habits are easier to do because you don't have to think about them. They're automatic. But it's hard to establish new ones, right? So I personally know I have a lifetime of unhealthy habits, right? And you're always trying to do better. But the reason that it's important to think about establishing maybe just one new healthy habit is because if you can, then it will become more automatic, and it's sort of something, again, on your checklist, right, of things to do to stay cognitively fit. So when we're thinking about establishing new habits, I'm going to click through here. The first thing you need is some sort of cue, something that tells you, oh, I need to do that, right? And so let's think of, I'm thinking of a group that I do. It's called Strong Body, Strong Mind. And one of the things that I'm trying to have individuals do is think every day about memory strategies they're using. And so what we've asked folks to do is think about one time, maybe in the morning, when you're drinking your coffee. When you're drinking your coffee, that might be a good time to review what we're working on in class, or that might be a good time to review your calendar or your planner. And so if you can create a small habit that is associated with something you're already doing, it's easier to establish that habit because you already have the routine. How many of you have a routine every single morning? A routine. So if you have a routine, if you can just connect one small new healthy habit to a routine that's already established, then it's easier to continue, okay? And then the reward is that you have completed the task. With healthy habits, though, it takes 66 days. I know it. to establish a new habit. So you have to have stick-to-itness. So since Gary's in the room, my audiovisual guy, I'm going to have to tell you all the truth. When we're watching TV at night, I put some weights in the living room. And I put them there thinking, hey, we watch TV every night. Maybe while I'm watching television, I will lift these weights, right? It's just one healthy thing that I can do. I'm not on 66 days at all, and I'm not sporadic. But my thinking was, and you got to start somewhere, and you get to continue to start over, and so that's okay, right? Is that's something we do, is we watch television. So I'm going to put those weights there. So when I look at them, it's cueing me, right? We're sitting here, this is our routine. I'm going to pick up those weights and lift them, okay? So it's 66 days to establish a habit. So I want you all to think about, if you were going to, and think about those 5 truths, do something different, create a healthy habit for yourselves, what would it be? And it has to be something that is appealing to you. You got to want to do it. I do not want to learn to play the banjo because it would be super hard for me. But you have to figure out what you want to implement. And then also, can you actually do it? And then the question, if we're going with the banjo example, is no, I could not do that, right? That's not in my skill set. So can you actually do it? We're thinking about those 5 truths. Is there something that you can do? And is it easily activated? Is there something in my environment that would prompt me to do it? I do know that every night when we're watching TV and I'm sitting on the sofa and looking at those weights, I am thinking, golly, I should pick up those weights. But then I settle in. But tonight, I'm going to pick up the weights. So sometimes then it is difficult to establish, this might be my weightlifting analogy here. It's difficult to establish a habit, and the harder it is, right, you are less likely, less motivated to do it. So what you want to do is pick a small habit. So we're not talking about big changes, we're talking about very small changes that might have and can have a very positive impact on your brain and cognitive fitness. So making a small choice, okay, and if the motivation is high, you get more repetition. So if you all, I hope you are thinking about, because this is what your what your worksheet is thinking about something you could change or do that might increase your cognitive fitness, okay? And consistency is the key. Although I do know that I can lift, they're 10-pound weights, now I can lift both over my head. When I started, I couldn't. That's kind of sad, but anyway, now I can, so that's good. And I chose this example, or my students chose this example of push-ups, and I thought, gosh, I got to take that out. I'm not doing a push-up. But the graphic was so nice that we had to leave it in. But the idea is, and let me give you an example of somebody else that I'm working with right now, and it's not push-ups, but she wanted to walk more, this woman I'm talking about. And so she set a goal for herself of this summer. She just wanted to walk 10 minutes, be intentional about walking 10 minutes a day. And so she set a reminder on her phone, right, to walk 10 minutes. And now I think she's up to 15 minutes a day. Very small goal, but she said it's made a really big difference. And she is doing it every day. What's helping her is setting the alarm on her phone that's telling her to do that, okay? So that, I think she's told me she started in June, and now it's October. and she is walking every day, okay? So, when you're thinking about all of these different small goals, what you get at the end then, right, is long-term results. And one of the things that we do know, oh yeah, I'm always looking for this magic pill. Are you all wanting one of those? It turns out that you have to eat healthy, you have to exercise, address chronic medical conditions, need to sleep, challenge your brain, stay socially connected, and address hearing loss. If you do all of those things, that's it, right? That is the magic pill, but it's certainly easier said than done. But a lot of studies that we have do show and bear out that people who participate in these kinds of activities or active leisure kinds of activities that require challenging thoughts and ideas and exercising your brain actually do have better outcomes cognitively 5 years later, 10 years later, after participation in something like that. So, for example, our Strong Body, Strong Mind class downstairs, it's a 7-week program, and the literature bears out that programs like this, people who participate in those kinds of programs, even 10 years later, their brains are different in a positive way than individuals who don't or haven't had those kinds of experiences. Pardon?
Are they different to begin with in order to sign up for the class?
No. The brains. What do you mean?
The population of the class.
Is all of us. So for our class, you don't. It is just a community-based class. So it's a community-based class. Okay. So I have a handout for you all, and on one side there is a list that looks like this. And what I would like for you to think about, we're going to think about our 5 truths. Does anyone else need a handout? Yes, ma'am. It is.
With the rulers.
The rulers, yes. We don't need the ruler. Turn to the other side for right now. So I want you all to think about these 5 truths, and I want you to think about how important is it to you right now to make a change in your activity level, in your movement or your exercise. Do you need a handout?
No, I have a question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was waiting to ask you afterwards, but I guess I better do it now. I've walked all my life, I've hiked all my life. I now have bad knees, so walking through the parking lot just about does me in. So what can I do to work on my activity level?
Yeah, so there is Tai Chi. There is swimming is a good activity. Chair yoga.
Okay, I've got scoliosis. I've got to use this stupid walker all the time now. And I used to do a lot of hiking. Well, I got one of those bicycle thingies.
Oh, a bike.
That I have under my desk, so when I'm sitting at the computer, I've got the.
Okay. Okay. So think about it. Some of you may be doing all the things exercise-wise, so there's nothing you need to change. But if there was something, just think about it for a minute.
They're all the same questions.
They're different.
All right.
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
So once you've got the activity if there is a movement or an activity that you think you might want to think about establishing a new habit, or walking more, or changing your exercise routine. The next thing when you're thinking about establishing habits is you have to decide what your willingness is to change. So it could be really important to you to lift those weights, but where are you really in your willingness? And so you have to think about that and ask yourself those questions. So I guess for my weightlifting, I'm almost ready, right? That's where I'm at. And then when you're also thinking about this, you have to ask yourself, what led me to pick the number, I'm almost ready to change, and what could I do to be in between or very ready to change? What's going to motivate me to do more?
You're already putting the weights there.
I'm already putting the weights there.
I mean, that's a habit you got in really quick.
That's right. Oh, good. Thank you. Bright side. That's good. Positive. So think about that for yourselves, though. If you were going to implement a new change, okay, then where are you on this willingness, and what would it take to make you more willing or more motivated to make a change? And then on your handout, we're not going to spend a lot of time with this, but you can take it with you. Can I see this for just a second, Kathy? On your handout, it goes through each of the 5 truths. So the move, the engage, your activity level, eating habits, relaxation, and it's a test.
Social
What was
connections.
and social connections. Okay, and so maybe after this class is over, when you're at home and you're thinking about it and thinking about making a small change in any of these areas, what you might do, what you might actually be able to change, right? Can you actually make one small change? Is anybody thinking right now, oh, I can do that? Anybody? What you got, Paul?
I'm really bad at not eating fruits and vegetables,
Yes?
so I can change that by start making it part of my list of shopping.
Okay, good. So even if you don't buy them, right, just making it part of your list is the place to start. Good. Linda, what were you going to say?
I am almost at we are almost at the end of repairs from Hurricane Helene, and so I'm excited to take a different focus right now.
Okay.
And since those things have been so major, it's kind of like, oh, you've given me permission today to pick something really small.
Oh, good. Yes.
Something like, yeah, we can knock that out.
Perfect. So what Linda was saying is that they had a lot of repairs and major things to do after the hurricane, which I'm sure a lot of you focused on, which took a lot of mental effort. And so just being able to set that aside and focus on something else will be a good change. So,
Another thing, if something is totally, sometimes I'm a slob when it comes to housekeeping. I'm a slob. I'll admit it. But when it gets too much, what I just do is I just say, okay, what part of the room looks the worst? You know, because if I try to say I'm going to straighten the whole thing, I just say, oh, forget it. I'll go read. I can't do it. But if I just say, okay, that corner is really needs, so then, okay, I'm just going to do that corner. And, okay, tomorrow I'll just do over here, and I'll just do over there.
so just making small changes. Absolutely. What were you going to say?
You know, I've been
Yes.
I actually have bought some of these stretch bands.
Uh-huh.
I have not used them at all.
Okay, so so now you're going to at least bring them out to the living room after today. Oh, good. It's baby steps. And, you know, also, if you all would, think about some of the healthy habits that you already have in place and extending those just a little bit, starting with what you're already doing or what you already said you wanted to do, right? So thinking about your willingness ruler and what's going to make the difference. Okay? Okay, so I want to end today on a relaxing note, and I am going to lead you all through a progressive relaxation technique. This is what we do at the end of our Strong Body, Strong Mind class, and it really feels good when you finish this exercise. And so if you all would, close your eyes, okay? And begin to make yourselves comfortable. You can sit where you are with your feet on the ground, and you can also do this standing if you would prefer. Your hands should rest gently in your lap or at your side. Allow your eyes to close or to remain open with a soft gaze. And I want you to take several long, slow, deep breaths. And you can feel your stomach expand on inhale and then relax as you exhale. Let go of the noises around you and begin to shift your attention from outside to inside yourself. Now slowly bring your attention down to your feet. And you might imagine sending your breath down to your feet as if the breath is traveling through the nose to the lungs and through the abdomen all the way down to your feet. When you are ready, allow your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye and move your attention up to your ankles, calves, knees, and thighs. If your mind begins to wander during this exercise, gently notice without judgment and bring your mind back to noticing the sensations in your legs. If you notice any discomfort, pain, or stiffness, don't judge it, simply notice it. Just observe and allow the sensations to be in the moment, just as they are. Then, on the next out-breath, allow the legs to dissolve in your mind and move the sensations in your lower back and pelvis, softening and releasing as you breathe in and out. With each out breath, let go of the tension you have, and then very gently shift your focus to your stomach and all the internal organs. Perhaps you notice the feeling of the belly rising or falling with each breath. Bring your awareness to the chest and heart region and notice your heartbeat. Observe how the chest rises and falls during the inhale and how the chest falls during the exhale. Shift focus and bring your awareness up into your arms. As you exhale, you may experience the arms soften and release tension. Continue to breathe and shift focus to the neck, shoulder, and throat region. As you breathe, let the tension roll off your shoulders. On the next out breath, shift focus and direct your attention to the scalp, head, and face. Observe all the sensations occurring there. Now, let your attention expand out to include the entire body as a whole. Bring into your awareness the top of your head down to the bottom of your toes. Feel the gentle rhythm of the breath as it moves through the body. As you come to the end of this practice, take a full, deep breath, taking in all the energy of this practice. Exhale fully. And when you are ready, open your eyes and turn your attention to the present moment. Thank you all very much. What's the date for Sia, your presentation? 6th. On December 6th is our next Academy presentation, so we hope to see you all then. Yes?
The one we missed.
The exercise, I think it's going to be rescheduled, and we'll be sending out information about that. So the one that was missed because of the hurricane, that one's going to be rescheduled. The one that's in December is focusing on social connectedness through a holiday activity. The Aging Academy should be a monthly thing. I think that we have a, thank you for that feedback, a feedback form, and we'd love for you to write that down. Thank you. Anybody else?
It would be a better habit to have.
It would be a better habit to have. Oh, that's nice. What's your name?
Sandra.
Sandra, it's nice to see you. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Comment on dehydration.
I don't know a lot about dehydration. What in what context?
There seems to be some connection with dehydration and exacerbated dementia.
I don't know a lot about that, and so normally as a PhD I would just start talking, but and answer it whether I knew it or not. But I'm just going to say, I don't know a lot about that, and so I'm not certain. Obviously. Yeah, I'll just stop there. So, okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Talking about habits, and Peggy's question, I recently worked with a doctor who said you need to drink more water.
Okay, so she's working with the physician who says she needs to drink more water.
And I know that, I just don't do it. And her idea, which was just great, is she said, buy a bottle, 20 or 30 ounces. She said, but make sure it's clear, fill it up. And this has worked great. It's like
A visual cue.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, I either go, oh no, I haven't drunk anything, or I start earlier in the day. And that was like, I don't know long term, but it was a great habit.
That's awesome. So here's somebody who needed to drink more water and struggling with how to do that. She buys a clear bottle, fills it up every morning, and puts it somewhere she can see it. And because it's clear, she can monitor whether or not you've had enough. I'm glad. That's awesome. It doesn't have to be complicated. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
I read somewhere that adding lemon juice, like real lemon or a squeezed lemon, to the water, it does something to your body that it absorbs the water better than just the straight, straight water is great, but water with a little lemon in it just gets into your system better.
That's great. So thank you all very much for sharing, and thank you for your participation in the Aging Academy.